guarding the Republic through reason, history, and honest conversation, where duty meets discourse and liberty finds its voice. Together we stand watch as citizens, freelanders, and centenniers, the defenders and guardians of liberty, freedom, and the Republic itself. So grab your favorite adult beverage and join me at the Sentinel Republic.
Oh, bartender, that'll be a double shot of your very best watered down gin right here.
Hello, and welcome back to the Sentinel Republic. And I know it's been about a month actually since I've been online and done a video here. I'm going to update you on my progress here. Of course, we did have Christmas. We did do nice vacation with the family. Of course, I've been dealing with my health stuff. I did have surgery just a little bit ago. I'm getting better slowly. I'm still suffering with a few health recovery things. It's going to be about 3-4 weeks before hopefully back to normal. I do run out of breath a bit. Had to have a hiatal hernia fixed as well. Was removing the band that I had. So I do have recovery with my diaphragm area and my stomach and stuff. So got to bear with me trying to take some breaths here. That all said, I am making progress recently on my fiction book. Without War, There Is No Peace. It is coming along. My reworks are looking amazing, I think. It's getting even better as I go here. I'm getting it up to the second book's tone and usage and stuff after my experiences that I've gained working on the books. So the good news is I'm coming along on that really well here the last week. Now that I'm back kind of working on some things and feeling a little better. So we got that stuff going on. So keep on trudging along here. But what I really wanted to talk about today, coming back here, and I do welcome you all back, and it's very good to be back, is there's a topic that's been going on. I've been following for probably about 6 months now, and it pertains to our northern neighbor, the Canadians, and specifically Alberta, the province of Alberta. Now, there is a good probability at this point right now that Alberta will be voting this year to be looking to leave the Canada and becoming its own state. Now, will that mean it becomes a United States? No, there's a lot of ins and outs in that regard. Could be possible, but yeah, we could see on that. And I did put the flag here with Alberta. I would love to see them as the 51st state. I remember when Trump was joking. Well, maybe wasn't joking, but he did say originally, and I didn't like it too well myself, is that Canada they should just join as the 51st state. Well, Canada as a whole country couldn't join us as one state, so that was kind of outlandish. However, that all being said, Alberta is right now collecting signatures for an October ballot initiative to leave Canada. And people would ask, well, why would that be? And that's where I'm going to step in here and give our political analysis that would pertain to why would they leave Canada. So, with all that, what's been going on in Canada, and what is Canada? Is Canada like the United States? We're very similar, obviously. Culturally, we're pretty aligned. We speak a similar language for the most part, except for the French Quebecs, probably. Even then, they're like kind of Louisiana. They got a lot of French speaking, Montreal and that area and stuff. They use pretty much French languages on their signs. It's a primary language. It is a confederation, and it is not a republic like the United States. So that's something to keep in mind along with that. But what we really need to talk about is, what is their government then? So If you didn't know, Canada is actually a constitutional monarchy. Yeah, the leader of Canada is actually the King of England, technically. They do run by parliamentary, and the Prime Minister does have most of the power. They do have a Senate, and here's a big kicker for the Senate. It's not elected, it's appointed by the Prime Minister. Very different than what we have, of course, with our elections and stuff. So the Prime Minister gets to appoint the senators. Now, who's he going to appoint? Someone that's going to serve him, of course. So there's a lot of difference between, the United States and Canada in that regard. They're not states; they're provinces. They have a provincial government. They have a provincial leader, kind of like a governor, which is similar. They run just a lot different. They don't have a constitutional system like we do. I mean, they do have a constitution in some regards. They do have rights. They're not a totally oppressive country, of course, but they do not have what we have here, and a lot of state individual sovereignty. We are a nation of states. They are not. So what's going on in Canada is Ottawa pretty much controls what goes on, and they have elections. The dominant party goes, and they're run more by a left wing coalition, like would be Democrats for us. So, but there's no checks and balances in their government like we have. Unfortunately, in Canada, there's a lot of the want states, the need states and the ones that have things states are oppressed quite a bit. And Alberta is probably one of the richest provinces that has more than most provinces. However, they are the ones that are taken advantage of, and they are pretty much, and then they get governed to death. They don't have freedoms. They don't get to collect their money. It all goes right to Ottawa, and then Ottawa uses that for their socialized system. They're a good example of why socialized medicine doesn't work. Yeah, it sounds great. We got free health care for all. They have things, but they do have a lot of problems, especially as it's been going on as long as it does, as it has now. So they're pretty socialized, especially in Ottawa, and run by a socialized government. So, so what's going on in Alberta is, they have one of the I think the third largest oil reserve in the world, and they want to be able to export their oil, and they want to make jobs. But what's going on in Ottawa is following a lot of the Green New Deal kind of policies and working with China, and they're forcing Ottawa's forcing Alberta to pretty much restrict what they can do and what they can make. But yet at the same time, they're one of the more money-making provinces. So that goes down, the global or the national income goes down, and then national programs start failing. So there's a lot of issues with Canada right now. They're also spending most of their budget on returning Inuit and native lands and stuff, and reparations up there, and it's really bankrupting their country, and it's causing a lot of division, a lot of breakups up there, and a lot of things. So what's going on now in Alberta? Alberta has finally had enough. Now Carney has recently come out and said, "Oh, we're going to work with you on a pipeline, but it's a pipe dream because he's going to throw in all like 600. I think if I remember right, it was like a 600% sales tax or initiative or some kind of thing." If I remember reading right, and it's like it's a red herring to try to keep Alberta from trying to leave at this point. But Alberta's had enough. Their people are. I was watching just last night, looking at the lines of people trying to sign the petitions to try to leave. They need, I think, 177,000 signatures, and they're going to easily surpass that, I think, from what I've seen and what I've heard from. And read on what's going on up there. So where's that going to leave Alberta, and what's going to happen? And I know the Alberta Prosperity Project folks have met with Trump officials here in Washington, and I know they think they're going to let them have like an exit strategy with Washington and support their independence from Canada if it passes in October, which right now I heard some polls are up around 46% of the Albertans are right in favor and are going to probably vote yes on it right now without debates and early thing, but it's been growing. It was like 35% just not too long ago. But what's been going on with Carney and going to China and what he's talking about the New World Order over in China and all that stuff. It's really scary where the leader of Canada is the prime minister is trying to take them, and they already had to deal with Trudeau and all his nonsense. So Canada's in a precarious situation here. What's going to happen if Alberta leaves? Well, that's one of their main sources of income for their country. Where's that going to leave that nation? That's some questions that they got to ask themselves. Is it going to cause a global collapse of their economy? What are they going to do? Well, he's trying to align himself with China. Carney is, and trying to bypass. I mean, there's already issues on the border. I don't know if a lot of people have read about that, but there's already a lot of border issues going on right now with us in Canada. The United States is restricting transport, and so is Canada. It's a lot of tit for tat going on up there, and we're restricting a lot of the free. We used to have one of the looser border exchanges up there, and now it's been pretty much restricted, and like going into that area in Minnesota, the little island over there, and having to come across is becoming very difficult. A lot of people can't bring their phones. They're making them do a lot of things up there that is very restrictive. So, and then there's a lot of tariffs going on where tariff negotiations are broken down, and a lot of things with Carney and Alberta can't do what they want to do. So what happens if Alberta leaves? That's going to cause a lot of issues, not just here in the United States, not just in Canada, not just with Alberta either. There's a lot of foreign nations watching this. And I'm just really surprised it hasn't been a big news story really here in the United States as much as it's been going on. So where's it going to go? I personally, I couldn't tell you. It is a very interesting scenario. Alberta leaves. I mean, one of their options, of course, is to join the United States. They align with us culturally. They align with us. They're a perfect fit for the United States. Economically, they're a very good source of income for a country. We would help work with them and support them, and they would gain more sovereignty being a state of the United States. They'd also automatically have our military protection, our military alignment, and would conform to our laws extremely well. I mean, they're brothers of ours. They're Americans. There's no doubt about it. Canadians, especially on the Western Hemisphere part, or the Western side of the North American, are extremely American. We're all the same. We're all English speakers. There's little differences, but different from Texans to New Yorkers. I mean, we're all individual state people. Colorado, I'm from, and North Carolina, we got Southerners, we got, Northeasterners. We all have our different little traits, but still, by and large, they're very similar. They're our brothers, really. We get along with them. We've always been. They're probably our closest neighbors. We have their closest trade. They would only make sense to become a state of the United States, including Saskatchewan, Manitoba, British Columbia, Yukon. They would all be great fits for states of the United States. But historically, we've always allowed two states at a time. And this actually makes sense. There's a good possibility here. There's a way to make things work here. So, historically, like when we did Alaska and Hawaii, we had to do two states at a time. But even before that, there's always been two states to keep the balance in our government. Because, of course, Alberta would be considered a red state for sure. Well, we can always bring in a blue state to counterbalance. That's how it's always been. Back when Hawaii and Alaska, Hawaii at the time was actually the red state, and Alaska was the blue state at the time. So they did bring in the two states then, and it did work. It succeeded. They're fully American states. our true, United States growth here. We do need some kind of growth. It's been a long time since the United States has had some kind of growth. To keep a nation functioning, I think the growth is a great thing. We do need to expand, I think, and align with them, and it would be great to get everyone in alignment. I would see, here's my path that I would predict if I would hope. I mean, heck, I'd like them to read my book and draft their own constitution and make their own Sentinel Republic in Alberta. Wouldn't that be a dream, wouldn't it? But let's say realistically, we take Alberta in. Well, maybe Puerto Rico finally gets their shot. It's been a really hard time. They always want to do Puerto Rico and DC at the same time, and DC and Puerto Rico both be considered blue states, and that would throw the balance off. So that has never bought buy-in for the conservative side. DC shouldn't be a state anyway. It's not it doesn't function as a state. It is constitutionally a district set up by the Constitution, and there would be a lot of constitutional challenges to ever making DC a state. I do actually propose that they should actually restore and return the land back to Maryland. That would be my not the federal area buildings and stuff, and keep those districts as this DC, but send the city back. Just make it Washington and send it back to Maryland, because it shouldn't be but they do need kind of representation by a state and run by a state. So I would propose that that's what they would do with that, but that's on another topic. But eliminating DC out of there, let's say we take in Alberta and Puerto Rico, then we got 2 states there. The next 2 states I would say would make great states would be Saskatchewan and British Columbia. I mean, British Columbia is Vancouver. It is kind of like Washington a little bit. It is a bluish state. It would counteract the balance of Saskatchewan, which is definitely a reddish state. So then that would get 4 states into the Union. And then we can look at taking in maybe Manitoba and look at it, maybe even a couple of these other. I mean, Quebec is even, they've already almost left once. It came within 1 percentage point back in the day. Now, Quebec, it has its own desires, probably. It's definitely a French speaking. It's not as conforming to our culture. There is a lot of differences in that, but and I don't want to go into all the provinces of Canada, but there is the Nova Scotia and all these other ones that, the way things are going in Canada with their economy, this way it's been run by this idiot Carney, it definitely is, and a lot of these progressives, if you want to call them up there, have really destroyed the functioning parts of Canada. And I would welcome my brothers in Canada to come join our states. They are Americans. We are in the North American continent. They can keep their flags. They can keep their traditions. They keep their state. They would be enhanced. They would be more sovereign. They'd be more free, and they would be more protected by our Constitution. I mean, we have our own problems here. I'm not going to sit and say we're all perfect going on down here. I think we can be much better, But right here, I think I got a lot of good suggestions that we can get involved in, and I think there is a way that we can get this going. We do need a lot of reform in our country. I'm not saying we're innocent and we don't need anything. I think some things are on track to be better. And you know how I feel about some of those things, but at the same time, Canada is not the solution at this point. Canada is a crumbling state at this point. And unless they have some kind of a miraculous turnaround, and if Alberta leaves, it's a done deal at that point. That place is it's going to be a world of pain if Alberta leaves. But we need to see what we can do to help expand, not just and build our republics, bring us more together, increase our nationhood, increase our coming together. Get us up a few more states, get us up into more area, help improve our global standing, and we need to get back to being Americans. And of course, if you know how I'm working in my Sentinel Republic, I call it Freelanders. I even abandoned the American thing because I'd like to see us even get more involved, more in line with with our brothers in England and in Australia, and build our global presence and unity, and get our culture built up more. Because right now our culture ourself is at a crossroads, in my opinion, and our republic is at a crossroads, in my opinion. And that's what I'm showing in my Lessons of History book that it's going to be coming out soon. I think we can build ourselves better, but sitting here in complacency where we're at now is not getting us anywhere. I do think Trump is trying to help build that a bit. American pride, exceptionalism. I think that has been taking a big hit with people saying, well, we were founded on bad principle. We were founded, in slavery. I mean, these things are not, that was done years ago. Was it wrong then? You can go back and sit here and armchair quarterback and whine about it. Was Rome founded badly? Rome had slaves. They fed Christians to the lions. I mean, you can go back in history. When does it end? It doesn't end. It does end. We have to end it now and focus on our future instead of living in these past broken societies that, why do we can't do this now because we killed all the Native Americans. Yeah, it's horrible. It was horrible what happened. I'm not sitting here and going to say that, that the white man shouldn't have killed white people, or Indians and Native Americans and whatever, and spreading, England was in India, and what did they do to India and South Africa? I mean, we could sit here and go and say we all should deserve. What did we do? Want to burn ourselves in front of them to reparations for something? Would that make them feel better? I mean, if they get off on that, then they got their own issues on that end, in my opinion. But what we need to do is, I mean, at this point, we're enjoyed a prosperity and civilized time, but at the same time, we're at a prosperity time where we don't innovate like we used to. If you're looking around the world, look at all the skyscrapers being built. They're all in Dubai, they're all in China, they're all in these other places that are making us look inferior, if you want to call it that. We used to be the first in technology, first in exploration, first in expansion, first in economy. We were leading in every single thing that we can possibly have. And then we started getting complacent and sending all of our information, or all our work and everything into China, and they use slaves. If you want to talk about slavery, look at China. They got their own slaves and little children in factories building crap for us. And then we sit here and use it. And we're not hypocrites on that. Let's think about that, folks. Yeah, China's got its own issues. China, they, that's how they're making all their big things. They're so, they use a lot of, I want to say, what would make liberals here cry their tears all day long. Here crying about what we've done. Now we're one of the cleanest environmentally. We've made a lot of progress. I mean, I remember when I was growing up how smoggy it was in Denver all the time. You couldn't see out the windows. And whenever I'd go up there to visit, and now it's one of the clean. You don't see any of that anymore. We've made huge progresses. I think we need to get out of plastics a lot and quit polluting as much. But we are making progress on that. There are innovations going in that, and that's what we're trying to work on. But when the government gets its hand into it, it suppresses it. It brings it down. And I don't think people realize that when all this government red tape, all these government restrictions, all these government forcing to do things, when we did it on our own, we without the red tape, we made progress. Progress is cutting down. We used to go exploring the stars. I mean, we put men on the moon in the 60s. Now we can't even launch a new satellite, it seems like, without going over budget and costing billions of dollars. That's because it's just like the student loan program. You start giving out money from the government and guarantee student loans. What's colleges going to do? They raise their rates. So they raise their rates and raise their rates. The government gets their hands into everything. It causes suppression of what we need to do. You make more laws. You keep throwing laws on top of laws, and then more laws on top of laws. And then everything becomes illegal. No one wants to do anything. And that's where we're at now. No one wants to build things great. No one wants to be that leader. And no one wants to jumping ahead because we're in this complacency thing. We're just building cookie cutter little houses and throwing people in them, and it's like, oh yeah, little low income houses. They're still not low income because the government subsidizes and they still raise rates and they put government restrictions on supplies, and it causes more rates to go up, and it's making it more unaffordable. The same thing with insurance, the simple thing for healthcare. And I'm going to bring that up probably in my next video. I was going to talk about it today, but I wanted to get this Canada stuff out because I think it's pretty interesting and not really talked about much. Anyway, I know this seems a little bit long, but this is a lot I wanted to get out there, and I am kind of getting worn out. I put a lot of passion into this. I like to talk about it a little more, but we can go on here all day and make it a whole 3-hour program like Rush Limbaugh or Joe Pags or something. I mean, or any of these people on radio or something that used to be on there. Maybe someday I'll get to that point, but I don't want to sit here and bore everyone to death, but I do hope people enjoy my videos and what I say. And if anyone in Canada is listening, feel free to comment and make their voice heard. I'd love to hear what they have to say. I'd love to chat with anyone that has on this if they would like to ever speak to me on that. I'd send a copy of my book to the Alberta Preps, project up there, that's they're funding this and putting this together. And I do hope to get back to promoting it some more here soon. I do plan to do some book signings and things here in the near future, and working with my publisher and trying to get my other book out here soon. And I hope to do with my nonfiction or my fiction book as well. And getting some more recognition on my book, and maybe do some debates and go to some conventions or something. Be part of trying to come up with solutions to fixing our nation and bringing us together as a North American continent for all Americans anyway. And hopefully Freelanders and Sentinels someday. That would be nice. But anyway, I do thank you all for joining me tonight. And I am glad to be back on here, and I do hope to start getting my weekly videos back on. Do leave me comments. I do like to hear comments. I do like to hear what people are thinking. I'm going on with what I kind of just think I'm doing, what I think is right. And I do like debate, and I'm not going to always say I'm right. I have a lot of things I like to hear what people think, and I like to expand my second edition of this book right here. I do plan to do a second edition after I do some debates with it and get it up, because this is just all my thoughts, most of my things from what I've learned from my life experience, my studies in political science, and where I want to go and what I'd like to see in our nation, a simplified country, protecting us, supporting us. A lot of the founding father stuff has been eroded, and I want that restored, but not for the exploration age, but more for the modern age. So anyway, thanks again for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next one.